Briana, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. I'm really grateful to you for coming on and having a conversation. I've been a huge fan of your channel since I discovered it, sort of probably June or July. Obviously, I was hooked when I read the title, Blunt and Upfront Spiritual Talk. I'm like, yep, that's a bit of me. And yeah, I don't think I need to ask you where you got the inspiration from for the title from, because I'm guessing that it just came naturally.
That's me. Yep, I say it like it is, and I'm just warning people ahead of time.
Brilliant. That's what we need. We don't want it to be called convoluted and hidden spiritual talk, do we?
Truthfully, I really feel that the course is very blunt and upfront. It's quite shocking,
Mm.
and I do. I have felt in my experience of hearing about the course, over the years in the spiritual community, that it isn't always presented that way. It's often presented as this very sort of, up there high teaching, and it's really hard to understand, and it has all these Christian words, and it's very sort of like flowery and airy fairy, and oh, this sort of magical thing. And I can see how people could think of it that way. And I probably have had times in my past that I maybe thought of it that way, but not for a long time now, especially not since I read Disappearance of the Universe and all of the rest of Gary Renard's books. No, now it's very much rubber meets the road. We're doing this for real. We're not just talking about it ad nauseum. We're doing it. So yes, I feel that the course itself is very blunt and upfront. It's telling you right away, you do not exist. The world does not exist. Anything that is not love does not exist. Okay, go live now.
See ya.
Right?
Forget this course.
Exactly.
But there's
So,
something so authoritative, isn't there? And he uses that word, there's an energy that is so authoritative about Christ consciousness, but also as a beautiful balance with kindness and humor, because somebody, if they're coming from a place of pure kindness, they can pull your leg, they can crack a joke because they know they're not going to upset the real you, because that's not the motivation.
right. Yeah, yeah,
And I think we get that, right from the beginning with the workbook, just how gently we are encouraged to, like, see if pick it up, have a go at it. Don't worry if you forget, don't give yourself a hard time if you miss one. But it it sort of like carries all the way through to the kind of rules of decision. And when you look at that, you're 30 chapters in, and
yeah,
the use of the word coercion is so purposeful. All the words are purposeful, but if you think of coercion and how gently in those sort of 5 or 6 stages we're shown to, like, think about the sort of day you'd like, how you'd like it to feel. Then if you go off track, stop and think, hold on a minute, why is this, and it's very, very gentle, and it's very intelligent, because it's helping to navigate us around this sense of coercion right from the beginning of the workbook all the way
mhm.
through the text, because there's a sense of, like, I can't get, if I get you back up, if I get you to identify with your ego, and your back's going to go up and you're not going to take it on board, it's not going to get through to you, and you're stuck in a little loop.
Exactly. Exactly. And, but I do, in this illusory world, we all have our own individual curriculums. And, the course even says, in itself, that it's not the only thing, in the world that teaches this teaching. Um, and it believes it's the fastest way in our timeline right now on our planet, where we are, but it's not the only one. And some people just can't make it work with just the course. Some people do need supplemental materials, books, other angles, other ways of looking at it.
Mm.
For me, Disappearance of the Universe was that it was the key that unlocked it for me. um, And some people need other things to get them to that point, because and I never mean to take away from the course at all, ever. It's a beautiful masterpiece. I completely agree with Ken Wapnick that it is a grand, epic, beautiful poem.
Yeah.
um, and yes, every word absolutely has a purpose. Every sentence, every weird, twist and turn and double negative and riddle of like, what did you just say? It's all meant, on purpose to make our mind do these gymnastics so that we're not lazily just going into ego, linear mode and going, yeah, 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 whatever. Yeah, 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 yeah. Because we'll just dismiss it again. Like it's some kind of high, airy fairy teaching that, yeah, I feel some part of me is called to that. That sounds, nice. Yeah, let's talk about that. Okay. And then as soon as you close the book or the study group ends or the call ends, you're right back into your ego stuff again. So it can be really hard for people to understand how to use it practically, especially because the course is never telling us how to live in the world. It's telling us how to not take the world seriously as we're living in the world. So it's fairly complicated. But really, at the end of the day, it's very simple. Nothing exists except love. And you're right. We need a ton of patience, a ton of time to allow our ego mind, our split mind, to accept that, because it's doing everything it can to resist it. That's the only reason we appear to be here, is because we're resisting that truth. So yes, we need to be very patient with ourselves, yet very vigilant. And I do find, much like, in my teaching of children through all the years, the best way to teach something is to have a lot of different angles that you teach it from, and different people are different kinds of learners. Some are visual, some are audio, some are kinesthetic. Same with the course, so the more you can sort of mix and match materials that people naturally feel drawn to, that just, come to them, that are meant for them, the better, to allow people to really understand what the course is saying. But it can also be tricky because there's a lot of stuff out there in the spiritual world that isn't saying what the course is saying, or might kind of seem like it's saying what the course is saying, and then people think it is, and then they get confused because it's not actually saying what the course is saying. So a lot of discernment, I feel, is needed to be vigilant about the actual true messages of the course. Yet we don't ever have to beat ourselves up or, do it in a very, forced, you must learn this, you must do a lesson every day. And like, no, never, never, never. Always gently, always with laughter, always in a fun, okay, let's see what I'm ready to accept and receive today. Just have fun with it, because you're not here anyway. And, you're going to appear to keep coming back over and over again as long as you think you're here. So we might as well just have fun and wake up. Let's just do it, So that's my attitude.
And it's funny because if you think of him saying you're far too tolerant of mind wandering, that's a pretty chilled out way of like just giving someone a nudge, isn't it?
Yes. And I have to say, early on, for me in the course, before I discovered Disappearance of the Universe, as I kept reading it through the years, I did. I'm the kind of person who responds better to positive words than negative words.
Right.
This versus don't do this. And maybe it was just my own, damaged, upbringing and difficulties that I had. But I always felt like the course was telling me what I was doing wrong. And I really had a hard time understanding how to do it right. I knew what was available to me. I knew there was this, eternal abundance of love available to me, but I had no idea how to actually feel it. And what I was getting from the course, again, I'm sure it had a lot to do with my personality and my perception and, what I was seeing out in the world, but I felt like it just kept telling me I was doing it wrong. And things like the mind wandering, you're way too tolerant of mind wandering, things like that. I'm like, I know what, sorry, fuck up. I am aware. But I kept not understanding. I didn't understand from reading the course what forgiveness was. I didn't understand how to practice it. I didn't understand what they meant exactly. It wasn't until I read Disappearance of the Universe that I was like, oh, okay, I get it. It was just those little cracks got filled in, and now I had a solid understanding of how to choose my right mind.
Wow. So, I mean, so many people benefit from disappearance of the universe as a stepping stone. It's like, do you think it's like the experiential thing of Gary giving us a window into how he got it and how that penny dropped for him as an aspect?
I've never, I mean, no offense to Gary, but I never considered any of it really like Gary's work. I always considered it art and person's work, which is really just Holy Spirit. And Gary was just the vessel. And to me, Gary was the perfect vessel because, and I'm not being insulting to Gary. He admits this at the time that that book was being, the information was being given to him. He was just a regular Joe Schmo, looking to drink my beer each night and watch TV kind of guy. He was just a regular dude. And that was genius of them to pick a regular dude who, wasn't necessarily into this stuff to begin with when they showed up, in his living room and began talking to him. So that really helped me to have it not be from him. And I think this is probably why I haven't followed a ton of course teachers or read a ton of supplemental course books and stuff. It's kind of like, I was telling you earlier, I spent a year living in Europe. When I did that, there were several people who like to travel with others, Americans in particular would make friends with other Americans and they would travel. It didn't have to be Americans, just friends, youth hostels, things like that. You're making friends. I never ever wanted to do it's not because I'm antisocial. I like people. It's just that as I was exploring this new place, I didn't want other people's eyes and perceptions to affect my experience of it. Mm-hmm. And that's how I feel about the course. Mm-hmm. I did have a direct experience by reading the course itself, although I was confused. And then I didn't seek the book Disappearance of the Universe. It was handed to me. I mean, Spirit basically just said, go to this place. And then I went there and they handed me the book. And I still know someone today that was at that group years ago that gave me that book. And his mind just gets blown because he's like, oh my God, Briana, you came into that group asking a million questions. And as soon as you were done reading that book, you were answering everybody's questions about everything. And he has seen, how I've, embraced the course, ever since. So it is interesting how those magical books will come along at just the right time when you need them. But the Disappearance of the Universe isn't for everyone. Some people does nothing for them, and that's fine. Like I don't, whatever it speaks to you. Everyone has their own individual curriculum. But yeah, for me, it was life-changing for sure. And I'm starting to reread it again right now, and I'm loving it. I love it. This is why I think it's genius, because, okay, so the course is fully like, it explains it to us in a hologram, right? The whole is in every single little piece. And our brains don't work that way, but it's written that way on purpose so it can seep into our right mind, which does work that way, and which is really our heart, our mind, our heart, our gut. It's all the same. But Disappearance, so genius to me because as a supplement, never to replace the course, never, ever, ever as a supplement, because it has all this great linear stuff for the ego to grab onto. For the ego to have fun with, for the ego to be like, ooh, what's this cool information? Or, ooh, what are they saying about that? Or look, they're making fun of Gary again, whatever, ego stuff. And then as your ego is going, ooh, it slips in all this course stuff as it's doing it. It's genius. So I just think it's very well designed to use both parts of our mind together, even though they're always working against each other. It's a genius way to kind of make it flow so you can satisfy both parts of your mind as you're reading the book. That's why I think it's
I'm thinking of the word coercion again, and the whole thing of like how to avoid setting off the ego, try to avoid coercion, this sense of like being pushed into something. For as soon as you feel, or I know that myself, people would say to me, oh, Leon, you're such a laid back guy, and you're practically horizontal and blah blah blah, and it's like, and then the people who really know me will know that you will not get me to do anything I don't want to do. And that can, then those people find that very complimentary as well, because they'll go, wow, you spent that amount of time with me listening and helping me, or you came and did this, or whatever my offering is, then
Yeah.
the value of that is evident, because it's not just I don't hold myself back from being kind to people in
Mhm.
everything that I do, but in terms of on that level, you can't push me, you can't force me to do anything I don't want to do. And I think, understanding that from this beautiful, gentle way and clever and intelligent motion that A Course in Miracles has got all of that larger picture perspective to go,
Yeah.
I know how to avoid triggering you, and I know how to get to your right mind. And like you said, it knows that the stuff's going to go in anyway to the right mind, and that's why we can do the work, but without having faith, without believing in it, without believing
Yeah.
in God, without believing in anything, because it just says try it, and
Exactly.
and then
And
it.
that's another thing that's important for me to express on my channel is to keep helping people understand that these sort of very Christian words or what seem like religious words or whatever, that they mean something else. They don't have to mean what you think they mean. They're loaded to us because they're coming from, Christianity or whatever other thought system, someone might be turned off by or feel afraid of or not trust or, whatever. But my understanding is that the course uses those words because the course is trying to fix what has been misunderstood with those same words.
Yeah.
But me not coming from a Christian background, not growing up with those words, and in the beginning being a little put off by those words,
Mm.
and then getting to a place where those words feel pretty neutral to me. They don't have that religious flavor to them anymore. Therefore, I can use other words to describe what they mean, and then people who might be turned off because of all the Christian stuff might be able to see it differently and not be so turned off by it. So that is another goal of mine on my channel and the way that I describe the course to people. One of my viewers wrote me and said that the way I present the course, I'm bringing it to the people. And that was very much my intention. I consider myself somewhat of an idiot, so I want to do the course for dummies. Not that we're dummies, but our egos are dummies, and I know that I know nothing. So that is how I want to present it. Also, because the course world can have so much sort of high intellectual discussions, conversations that can make a lot of people feel left out. They feel like they don't understand it, or they feel like I'm not educated enough in this to be a part of this conversation, things like that. So I just want to bring it down to the everyday. This is for everyone level. We're all idiots. We're all not here. There's nobody here. That's why we're idiots, because we think we're here and we're projecting onto everyone else. This is also why we're idiots. So I'm just trying to bring the truth to our one idiot mind and, without insulting people.
Oh, amazing. When I looked at my checklist, I realized I've got a checklist. And in terms of yourself, I've got Briana, metaphysics, check. Ken Wapnick, check. Non-duality, check. Authentic, check. Work in progress. So this is like something that's important to me, and something that I recognize in other people is when they're not trying to go, hello, finished product. It's like the people who hold
I'm
their
going to
hands
appear to be here.
up. I've got go beyond concepts, because that's a massive aspect of the course,
Yeah.
is like temporary concepts to travel beyond.
Yes.
Quantum physics, because that's important to me, and you tap into that, and then in big letters at the end, humor.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And I've also got a T.S. Eliot quote that I really love, which is humor is also a way of saying something serious.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Any stand-up comedian will tell you that. For sure. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's
well,
really,
another viewer of mine, after having a video chat conversation like this, he told me that I'm the George Carlin of A Course in Miracles.
wow.
I was like, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I like that.
Get that
I
printed
can be a little
footage.
cranky too, kind of like George Carlin. I can be
Yeah,
a little.
the world needs that. So also I've got here in relation to coercion, as a follow on from that, I was telling someone the other day about the word surrender in Course in Miracles, and Tam Morgan was she was talking to somebody just after they'd done the online edition of the Course in Miracles, which is absolutely brilliant. It's like probably use this like 20 times a day. You think of something, just open it up,
Yeah,
off you go. And when it was just finished, she wanted to show someone, say, look how brilliant this is. You can literally think of anything in the course, like, to give and receive a one in truth. Type it in, up it comes. And she said, right, and she went, right, surrender. And she typed in surrender and said, look, like that. And it came up and it said, the amount of times surrender appears in A Course in Miracles, 0. And she was like, oh, shit, there's a glitch, it's not working properly. Oh, no, and she tried something else. And sure enough, everything flagged up. And she realized that the word surrender
yeah,
does not appear once in A Course in Miracles, which
yeah,
I think again is absolutely fascinating in terms of purposeful language and in terms of not engendering a sense of coercion. Of just like, because the ego is probably going to hear the word surrender and go, whoa, 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 hold on a minute, what? Surrender what?
yeah. I mean, I would fully agree. I never thought about it before. You commented that on one of my shorts where I talk
Ah,
about
yeah.
surrendering, surrendering to spirit, and you had commented that it's nowhere. The word surrender is nowhere in the course, and I was like, huh. I never thought about it, and I looked it up, and sure enough, yeah. And then it just you look it up on Google, and they get the one big thing at top on top, I guess, that everyone reads or whatever. And so basically said, I don't even know whose words it was, that they felt that surrender for the same reason, like not to feel, that for people to not feel coerced or feel like you have to or
Mm,
things like that, which makes sense. However, there are many things in the course that do kind of tell you, like the authority problem,
mm,
um, that that would be along the same lines as surrendering, you
mm,
know? So to me, it's still a little bit of a mystery. I'm sure there's good reason why that word wasn't used.
mm,
But I don't totally know what it is, because there are other parts of the course that make it very clear about the authority of God and that we have an authority problem.
mm.
And I always very much respond to that whenever I read that part of the court. It always makes me laugh because I'm like, oh, yeah, I have an authority problem. I do. I've always been a rebel. I do not like it when people tell me to do what to do. I do whatever the fuck I want whenever I want. You can tell I have a little bit of an edge to me. I've gone through a lot of abuse in my life, and it has created a little bit of an edge in me. And again, I was just saying to a good friend of mine the other day, I'm like, this is okay, right? It's okay for me to be out in the world, be a Course in Miracles teacher, and still be a little fucking pissed off sometimes, right? It's okay. Because, like being the George Carlin of A Course in Miracles, I'm just a regular person like all the rest of you, not wanting to be trapped in my ego thoughts anymore and practicing the course so that I can experience peace. And I would way rather be a real person demonstrating that in front of you than, I don't know. To me, like, the spiritual world is full of the, oh, let's just breathe. And there's always a place for all of that. But for me, that doesn't exist. Sorry.
Does this mean George Carlin probably doesn't do like meditation sound baths and sit around with
And I certainly have my moments of meditation and peace and everything. It's just that I'm not walking around like that all the time.
yeah.
I can't help it. This is how spirit made me, or at least this is what my fractal of spirit decided to act out in the dream, in the big grand plan, that happened, because it's already over. It only happened an instant. But for whatever reason, this is, part of my fractal, and I'm not going to judge myself for it, and I'm not going to feel guilty for it. This is who I am.
Hmm.
And the special sauce of who Briana is apparently affects people, because I've been teaching people and having a big effect on people my entire life. So I'm just going to keep doing it and keep forgiving, and keep working on the truth within myself, and then sharing it with others, because there's nothing else to do here in this illusory world except wake up.
I had this really beautiful prayer come to me one night, and I had to, like, write it down. And it said, I accept the healing light of God into my mind, that it may extend to awaken all who think they dream. I thought, right, I'm writing that down, and that is essentially the deal of, like, we're part of a dreaming mind, or part of God's mind that thinks it's dreaming of separation, and we have all of these symbols that we use to populate our dreams. And you know, interestingly, dreaming itself, if we had an illusory existence here and we didn't fall asleep every night and have dreams, then we wouldn't actually have the metaphor, if you like, or the analogy to use dreaming on a larger scale for what's going on, and
That's
I've been very fascinated with dreams, and have had quite a sort of propensity to be able to just decipher, whether it's my own dreams or people that I know closely, and I'll say, oh, and I enjoy to sort of like go, well, so that person was in your dream and they said what to you, and what do they mean to you, and sort of, we know from Carl Jung that he's like, come and see me for months and I'll work out the language of the symbolism of your unconscious stroke subconscious mind, and therefore what you're projecting to populate and inhabit your dreams, so that we can suss out what your internal language is, and then get to the bottom of what it is you're trying to say to yourself. Because everything that is unconscious was once conscious, and it's just fallen out of reach, but you can
Well,
still
and
get
really,
to it.
that whole technique that you're talking about that can be used to analyze dreams and understand more about yourself, can completely come over to your waking life as well,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just another form of a dream. And so
Exactly.
all the symbolism that's happening in a nighttime dream, because of your unconscious mind and the things that are coming up, to light, the same thing is happening in your waking dream all day, every day. So
Mm.
really, we can use the same technique. Just look for the symbols. What are you telling yourself? Because there's nobody out there. So everything you experience is just, an outward projection of your inward condition. So you're always talking to yourself. Always.
I was driving home today, just making sure that I got back in time, and using some particularly, or for English standards, a particularly chaotic bit of road network. And somebody did something, and I was like, I can't remember what I said, but it was pretty much along the lines of like, "What are you doing?" or "What are you thinking to do that?" And then I just laughed, and it's like, what am I thinking? What am I projecting onto someone in their little car driving along in another lane? And that little tiny moment of going, what are you doing? As I'm up here at the top of the pyramid looking down. It's like, what am I doing? What am I thinking? And you're exactly right. That's the point. Is like, that principle of us all being here, all dreaming, all having a symbolic language that we use to populate and to color our dreams, and then to decipher that language. And obviously, with the Course in Miracles, it almost tackles it in the way that Jung did with archetypes, where he'd say,
Yeah.
if you or I are scared of a snake and what the snake symbolizes in our dream, then there's an element of that which has come from our collective unconsciousness, which is 200,000 years old, and has been passed on. Because again, coming back to, like, saying to you about the quantum mechanics and the mechanisms of physics, if you consider that 5% of what exists in the universe is mass, and we know mass doesn't even exist when you get a strong enough microscope. But in the cosmology and the evolution of everything that appears to be here, that creates the stage which we're all acting this dream out on, there was a point where all of that mass was contained in one tiny pea-sized sphere that then expanded through the inflation period and exploded to then expand into everything. So this 5% that makes up all the planets we see and the stars and everything, it's got the memory in it of all being one tiny little pea-sized sphere, and that collective memory is instilled in at a cellular level.
And we repeat that everywhere, all over the universe. That same concept that you just described, that's repeated everywhere, just even in atoms. Atoms are very much just like, the universe you're talking about. There's this little tiny bit of mass and mostly empty space. It's the same with atoms. So it's just, again, it's just symbols. We're just repeating the same thing over and over and over again everywhere throughout our illusory multiverse. It's the same system. It just, to our ego mind, who experiences space and time and thinks of things linearly, it looks like a lot of different stuff, a lot of different things to explore. But there's really nothing there. And within the something that we think that we've created, that we really miscreated, yeah, we use the same system over and over and over again. I mean, once you see it everywhere. You see the patterns everywhere, just like you're saying, working with dreams, you can start to see those symbols everywhere. You can start, it's like a language, it's a lot like anything in the universe. But I was going to say, it reminds me of tarot. I'm a tarot card reader as well. And to me, tarot does reflect the mistaken universe in many ways, in that tarot is made up of major arcana cards and minor arcana cards. The majors reflect, in course terms, what your curriculum is, the things that are already set in stone as far as like your lessons, in this particular lifetime. You have no choice. And then the minor arcana are all the human reactions to our soul's plan, the curriculum that was set up. So the minors are our choices. How are we reacting to this? And this is what the course is teaching us. You have a choice of reaction. You have a choice of how to deal with these events, these things, that appear to be happening in your life that you didn't have a choice over. You do have a choice of how you react to them, though. So that's just another example of how, in this thing called tarot, which is another illusion inside of our illusory world, which is another illusory tool that has more illusory symbols of the human experience, and it just repeats the same cycle, the same system, the same process over and over again. And that's why it works. That's why tarot works, because it's just reading the closed system that's already there.
Nice. Yeah, that reminds me, I mean, something I wrote in relation for David Hoffmeister put, which was fantastic, is the ego invented linear time and space to dilute and disguise the one grievance, which is belief in separation from God, and make it into trillions of grievances that are perceived in the human condition, which is exactly what we're talking about. It's just that. And it kind of makes it fractal and holographic in an illusory sense as well, doesn't it?
Sure does.
And then something from the course which I've got is: the magic of the world can seem to hide the pain of sin from sinners and deceive with glitter and guile.
Totally. Absolutely.
But also, when dreams are shared, they lose the function for attack and separation. Even though it was for this that every dream was made. So, that's interesting, isn't it? When you think of the whole conception of the course, of like, And something we're taught through the materials, like whenever two people come together with pure intent, that's when God can enter, you know. And what did Helen and Bill do? And Helen was surprised to hear herself go, "Do you know what, Bill? I'm going to help you with this." She's like, "Who said that?" "Well, I said that." "I thought we were always warring, you know."
Exactly. So our ego mind likes to sit around and analyze all this stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, it can be fun,
Mm.
and it's a way for us to discover these patterns, you know, that I'm talking about. But at the same time, I guess for me, the next step after that, after all the analyzing and discovering and everything, is for me to just let it all go
Hmm.
and really not analyze or make sense of any of it, and to give it all to spirit, you know, the right part of my mind to figure it all out, and to just ride the river. You know, I often use the example of just being in an inner tube and just going down the river because the twists and turns of the river were already going to be there anyway. There's nothing I can do about it. All I can do is just chillax inside my inner tube, knowing that spirit's got my back the entire time. So at this point, I really prefer to do that. I don't need to figure it out. I just need to ride the current and then forgive along the way as it's happening. And if I forget to forgive, it's okay. I forgive myself for getting to forgive. And there is no such thing as time. So I can always go back and forgive later. It's choice.
I love it. I think there's such a strong emphasis that's growing in the channel about experiential use of the information.
Yeah.
You know, it's just the people who was it, Carol Howe, you know, David Hoffmeister, probably two people, if you club together, they've got 70 or 70, 80 years worth of living with the Course in Miracles. And, you know, their summation is just experiential, you know. It's not about, there's a difference between intelligence and knowledge, isn't there? You know, you say
Yes.
you can fill your brain with stuff. You could sit down and try and memorize things, but then people that you can meet who don't know any of that theology or don't know any of that technical information can, through living, demonstrate such natural wisdom of just, you know. And something I love about that is then it just seems so pure because they don't seem to be contrived in any way. They don't seem to have a motivation for an outcome. They're just like, you know, there's something amazing about that. I think I was talking to someone about this recently and sort of saying, you know, the difference between someone who maybe is following like a religious path and is doing good actions and then going, "Did you see that one, God? Yeah, could you
Right.
put that one down on the chart for me when I come up, you know?"
Giving to get. Yes.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
somebody else who's just inherently good person who just, they don't even believe in an afterlife. They're not doing something nice for some sort of return, some payback. It's just comes to them and it's
Well, from
beautiful.
what's happened to me in my life, you know, and recently in starting to read Disappearance of the Universe again, and Art and Persa talking about Jesus back in the day, something I was reading the other day that very much reminded me of my life is they were saying that, you know, Jesus, you know, I'm not comparing myself to Jesus. And again, Jesus says we are us. We're not supposed to be in awe of him. We're not supposed to think
Yeah.
that he's better than us. I just know I'm not quite there yet.
Hmm.
Uh, that he had so much love and light shining out of him when he would come face to face with people. A lot of them couldn't take it. They couldn't handle it. You know, some of them could, and those were the people who were meant to be healed by his love at that time. But a lot of people could not handle it. And that is very much my experience in my lifetime. There are most people, I don't know about most. There are people who cannot handle me. And there are people who have come after me and attacked me repeatedly throughout my entire life, like every stage of my life, all different ages, all different, you know, professional, personal, whatever. It's happened to me a lot when I think I'm just being a good person. You
Mm.
know, oh no, low battery. I'm sorry. We're going to have to take a little trip
Did it? Yeah.
over to my cord. Sorry.
All right.
Um,
I
I
think
had
we'll
good
survive
lighting.
it.
Yes,
I
I'm
think
gonna go turn another light on so that I'm not so dark. I apologize. I didn't think my computer would be that. Okay, sorry about that.
Doesn't matter, does it?
What was I saying? I don't remember. Uh,
You're talking about Arton and Persa, talking about Jesus back in the
oh
day.
yeah. So people have not liked my light, have basically like appeared to have attacked it. And this still has continued very much to this day. Then I have other people who love me, who are very drawn to me, moth to a flame, so on and so forth. And that can come with its own problems too. You got to navigate all of it. But for me, having people attack me so much because of my light, while I think I'm being a good person and being loving, has really taught me over time to not take it personally. It's just egos doing what egos do.
Mm.
And when I started my channel, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to handle the negativity, like negative comments and people being mean and stuff. And so far as it's been happening, it's never hurt my feelings once. In fact, most of them make me laugh because I see the ego right through it. I see what I have said has threatened them. I
Mhm.
mean, I don't know if it's the same person because I don't really pay too much attention, especially in shorts land. There's so many, because in shorts land, it goes out to people who aren't necessarily course students.
Sure.
So I think it was the one that was titled One Problem, One Solution. We only have one problem, one solution. And someone just wrote, F you. I was like, oh, your ego did not like that. It just cracks me up. So I'm glad to have discovered that it's not bothering me. And it just shows me more of the symbolism, the process, the silly journey that our egos go on of projection and then feeling bad and then having to project it out again. I just see that out in social media land.
Mm.
And so I don't take it personally. And I have come to terms with the fact that I believe my role to a certain extent is to be what we used to call back when radio was, popular, a shock jock. Do you know what that is? Like a disc
Yeah.
jockey, a shock jock.
Yeah.
I feel like I have entered the social media world because wherever my videos go, they're going to go to like the spirituality bubble. And most spirituality doesn't agree with what the course is saying. So and I'm very blunt and upfront about what I'm saying. And so, yeah, it's quite shocking to quite a few people who end up seeing them. But that's my job. That's what Spirit told me to do. So I'm doing it.
Yay. But like say in the last couple of days, one of the lessons had starts with, I think it was yesterday's lesson. It starts with perception follows judgment,
Yeah.
and yet, from an ego perspective, the ego would want you to think that judgment follows perception.
Yeah.
And I was like imagining when you see these films where they pause the world, it's normally some sort of action movie and they pause everybody, and it's like it might be a room in a casino, and then somebody will just like walk through this room and pick up a few chips and take some bullets out of some bad guy's gun and blah blah blah. And I was thinking to myself, I was so like, it was so arresting when I read perception follows judgment. I was literally just like, those three words, I was like, oh my God, there's so much in that, and then not like to get into like a savior complex or to fix the world or anything, but just that sense of like, just it's perception follows judgment, because it's made such an impact on you. You want to share that sort of excitement of it. And I was thinking, if you could pause the world now, but everybody, instead of in those films, people, their eyes, they're fixed, they're in a moment that's not present. If you could actually stop everybody doing what they're doing, but they could still look and hear you, and you just went round and said, perception follows judgment. How many people would go, oh, just give it a rest, will you? I've got stuff to do and I'm doing this and I'm going. It's like,
They'll hear it when they're ready. They'll hear it when they're ready,
exactly.
you know? So
Exactly.
I don't I'm never trying to convince anyone of anything. I'm never trying to change anyone's mind about anything. There's no point. Why would I do that? I'm just putting the information out there for those who are drawn to it. That's what Spirit told me to do. And honestly, that's what any teacher of anything is doing, is just they feel a passion within them of something that they want to share with the world. And, whoever's meant to hear it will hear it. And
Mm.
there's only one of us, there's no one out there. And as these many fractals that we appear to be are in this process of waking up, because there's no way out of it, because it's already over, it already happened. We're waking up no matter what.
Mm.
It's just we get to decide how long we want to wait. We get to decide how long we want to resist God's love and continue the illusion of space and time. It's our choice. We have complete free will.
Mm.
So if there are egos, including mine, who want to resist and don't want to do it, that's okay. There's no hurry. There's only one end. We're all headed to the same place. So take your time and do it however you want to do it. And in the meantime, if I'm ever judging and saying, why isn't the world waking up? This is torturous. What is happening? I've just made it real. I made the world real, and I made everyone else real.
Yeah.
There is no one out there. There's nobody for me to wake up. It's all a dream. So within this dream, I have been inspired to speak this truth that I discovered called A Course in Miracles. So be it. It's a dream. It's a movie. This is my character. This is just, this little part of my character storyline. And, Spirit asked me to share, what I believe. And I don't believe it's for everyone. It's only for the people who are in that frame of mind and having that perspective right now, or at the very least are open to that perspective. And we're all on our own schedule and timeline of waking up. And every piece has its purpose, so even if there's a piece within the whole that doesn't appear to be completely woken up, it doesn't matter. It has a purpose. It's affecting all sorts of other pieces that are getting all them to the point where eventually they are going to be ready, to wake up. We're all working together like, gears in a clock. It's already happened. It's already done. It's already over. We don't need to make anything happen. Again, we just need to ride that inner tube down that river, because it's already done for us, So whatever we feel inspired to do, whatever our passion, our joy is, that's it. That's what you're supposed to be doing.
Yes.
And that's my new approach to life, especially after some of the really big difficulties I've had to face in my illusory lifetime this time around, to just be a hedonist, honestly. In every moment of every day, I say to
What, a
myself,
happy learner?
joy. Huh?
A happy learner?
That's right. I guess so. Right. I didn't think of it that way, but yeah, because typically hedonist has a negative connotation, right? How dare you? You're so selfish. Okay. You want to call me selfish? Okay. Well, there's nobody out there. And I think I'm me, and my world is my hologram of Briana. So I might as well have a good time, right? Like, why not? Everyone should have a good time, because if everyone were following their joy, if everyone were following their spiritual, um, whatever's inspiring them from spirit, everyone would be following their highest path. And it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone would be like awake in this lifetime. But again, like those gears of the clock all working together, if everyone were following their inner joy and what spirit is guiding them to do, all of the gears of that clock would work together perfectly.
Mm.
And the whole, it would happen faster. Honestly, time and space would collapse much faster, because people would be in alignment with their spirit. Okay. So yeah, my attitude is just to be hedonist. What do I find joy in, throughout the day? And it's easy to find joy in mundane chores as well, like you were saying with your job, you get to listen to all this wonderful information while you're doing this sort of meditative, movement with your body. And yeah, if we all just find that groove and that joy, and it can change from day to day, minute to minute, hour to hour, it's part of this world of up and down and duality. So again, just ride the river and have fun.
And
And
that
when
can
things
be.
appear to be shitty, don't make it real.
I love that. There's a strap line. But there's the constant as well, isn't it? If the, you know, if the joy that you're bringing to an experience is your motivation, then all of those specifics, all of those different tasks or things that you're engaging with, they will dissolve in a sense, or they will become secondary to the fact that your presence and manifesting light and joy in, whether it's washing up some dishes in the sink or whether it's painting the top of the Sistine Chapel, it's like that becomes irrelevant really, because it's about the joy. And
Yes.
I love that Cahill Gibran saying from the Prophet where he says, "Work is love made visible."
Yes. Yes.
And
Beautiful.
and he says, you know, if you can't work with love, then really just go and sit outside the temple and take money from people who can. If you're if you're going to bake a loaf of bread without love, then it's only going to feed half of somebody's hunger, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, for me, I found myself thinking that today. I can't even remember what I was doing with. I was just opening a door just to walk into the building where I was working or whatever, and it was just to be present even during that activity,
Yeah.
um, and to just, yeah. I mean, again, standing looking at the clouds has become quite a thing for me. You know, in the morning, just have a cup of coffee on the doorstep, and I'll look at the sky, and there's something about that impermanence and the transient nature of just like saying this configuration of clouds and light and blah blah blah, that's already gone now, that's been replaced by this, that's been replaced. So, you know, it's a direct experience of transience and impermanence, but then the constant is what you can bring to it in the perspective that you use to engage with that moment, and how much presence you can,
Yeah.
I don't know if achieves the right word.
Experience. Experience, I would say. Yeah.
Experience, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And every day can be like a piece of art.
Mm.
What am I gonna, what am I, I know we don't create as egos, but this is how we talk as humans. What am I gonna create today? What do I, and it can be different in each moment. Right now I'm watching a beautiful sunset and I'm watching, beautiful golden light come through holes between the trees. That's beautiful to me. And
Yeah.
it's happening just in this right moment. And I'm having this beautiful conversation with you as it's happening, is perfection, right? And it's only in this now moment. And we're here, we're doing it, we're feeling it, we're experiencing it. That's it. Like this is what we're here to do, is to do that and to feel the love as we're doing that, and just relax and ride that inner tube down the river, and Holy Spirit's got our back, and then the awakening just keeps happening because we're just surrendering to it.
And the happy dream, I mean, if I look at my own personal story without the specifics and just look at the general movement of my being through what's happened in half a century, it's just like to turn the fearful dream into a happy dream, to be present, to enjoy it. And you know that the one outcome from that is just that word thank you and gratitude, and just like
Gratitude, yes.
being able to say it with more conviction every single day, you know, to mean the
Yes.
word thank you, and to just be transmitting it from a greater point of understanding and belief every single day. You know, the word thank you means more and more every single day. And
And
weirdly,
I'm grateful for every teeny tiny little thing that I'm experiencing each day, because yes, it's a dream, that I'm here. I'm aware that it's a dream, much like lucid dreaming, when people can have their dreams at night and be aware, right? I'm aware of it. And then I can just keep enjoying the fun. Now, granted, we can look at it the bad way too. Being in a body is difficult, it's hard, there's pain, there's loss, or all these things. But we're stuck here, and we think we're stuck here in these bodies, so might as well have fun with them and just enjoy all the things that come with being a body here on earth in this particular lifetime, in this particular, illusory time. Because there are a lot of things to enjoy. And, I've heard enough. Well, first of all, I can speak to the dead. I'm a medium and I can have conversations with souls that have passed over, but also listening to other mediums through the years speak with the dead. There's common themes of things that they'll say that they miss about being in a human body. And it's things like feeling the wind on your face,
Mm.
tasting a delicious food.
Mm.
Um, so I remember those things and I really enjoy those experiences each day. I don't take them for granted. I feel very blessed. Maybe it's a, midlife crisis thing too, like I'm old now. So it's like, okay, I'm going to enjoy however much I have left now. No more, because I feel like I ended the part of my life that was just like go build do. There was so much to do, so much busyness. You're being a kid, you're going to school, you're having to earn degrees, then you got to start working, and then eventually I had a family and I had kids in the house to take care of. It just goes on and on and on. There's so much busy work to do all the time. But now that I'm kind of on the other side of a lot of that, I can just chill. And now that I'm relaxing and working on my businesses that I do have a love for, but I do it at my own pace and my own time for the most part. And now I can just really sit back and relax and enjoy everything that this illusory experience has to offer without making it real, without taking it seriously, knowing it's a dream the entire time. And yes, it becomes a happy dream because no matter what appears to be happening, whether it's good stuff or appears to be bad stuff, it doesn't matter because you don't take it seriously. And that's what causes the happy dream. Okay. People get confused and they think like, oh, if I just practice forgiveness, really good stuff is going to happen in my life. That's what the dream is. No, 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 no. Take a look at Jesus. Wasn't so great at the end there, was it? That's not what it means. It means that no matter what appears to be happening, you will be happy because you will be at peace.
Wow. And also how interesting that, because Jesus is in control of time, that, when he does collapse time, the memory of something not being, this is a conversation that we were having this evening, my wife and I, because it's been a theme of the last week. I've done quite a few records as a musician, and I got obsessed really with telling a story over like a concept album. So
Mm.
what really captured my attention rather than trying to tell a story in 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes was trying to tell a story over 10 or 15 songs. And that's something that I've had as a creative motivation since I was like, I don't know, 18 years old or something.
Wow,
So
wow.
it took 25 years for me to manifest that creative desire. And I created a record that took me 10 years to write, four
Wow,
or 5 years to record, £12,000 of my own money to
wow.
pay for it because no one else is going to want to indulge somebody doing something like that.
Right.
Um, and then prior to that concept album coming out, I'd also had another concept album, which was just, very, very much like my course understanding. Even though this concept album was my course understanding kind of surreptitiously imbued in the message and the lyrics, this first record was like, I was much more like, this is me talking about a Course in Miracles. Any other course student would go, oh wow, that you could remember, you could feel the chapters or whatever it would be about,
Ah,
the sections.
ah.
So it came to me a little while ago. I had a song come to me in the middle of the night. First time I woke up about 3:30 in the morning. I had an entire song in my head, like words, melody, and it's quite easy when you're all comfortable and warm in bed to go, I'll remember that in the morning. And it's
Oh,
like,
no, you won't.
oh, it's like, get up, go and found my phone. And it's just like bleary eyed, sung this
Right.
bit of tune in there. And like fantastic. You know, I'm working on this bit of music, and it's incredible to come at it, because normally what would happen is like I'd pick up my instrument, I, whatever mood I'm in, I'm gonna seek that out in the sounds that I'm making because it's an extension of my energy. In this reverse kind of experience of creating a song, it's like, wow, there's the song, okay, given to me, melody, lyrics, the lot, and it's called Call Off the Search.
Ah,
Which is again like,
yeah,
haha, you know, there's a
yeah,
joke.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm working on this bit of music, and I've also got another song that's running concurrently, and I put a sample in there, and it's a lady called Marie von Franz.
Mhm.
And again, she's talking about Carl Jung. She's like one of his understudies, or one of the people he trusted the most
Okay.
to carry on his work. I don't know if he felt he was getting older, or if he just wanted compatriots or whatever. So I've used this sample in this piece of music that I'm working on. And then I've remembered that I've got this Course of Miracles musical, basically, that I've written. All the songs are written, all the lyrics are there, and all of that. And I've gone, right, I'm going to fish this out. You know, this new song coming to me from spirit like that has made me go and find that, you know. So I've gone and found this book from, let's say, I don't know, let's say it's 25 years old or something like that. Open the first page, and I've got a big quote in there, and it's it's by Marie von Franz.
Oh,
And I'm like, hello, there we go.
synchronicities are everywhere. Yep.
And then the idea behind this concept album is like the same as the concept. I used the same blueprint for the record that we have put out,
Mhm.
which is every song is a diary entry. So the premise is like, let's say I've been keeping a diary for 25 years. Then myself or someone else comes and looks through my diaries and picks out the 14 pivotal diary entries which document me moving through a process and like these key phases like that. So I've gone back to this thing from 25 years ago, and you know, I'm like it now experiencing looking through these essentially cherry picked diary entries that I've done myself 25 years ago with my
Yeah.
course understanding, with the, and it just collapsed all, you know, that
Yes.
quarter of a century. I understood as I sat at the kitchen table in this really lovely home that I share with the perfect person I'm meant to be with, you know, after we both walked away from other marriages and other relationships, and we got our little dog and every, and it's like I see now that this is the moment what this was all for, even though that was from quarter of a century ago. That was all for now, and it all just went collapsed and vanished like that. And there I am with now the prospect of a really illuminating and um, appetizing creative project ahead of me. I'm just like, wow, how amazing is that?
Everything you just described is you on your inner tube, just going down the river, right?
Yeah,
Because you were inspired to do all that work, years ago. It
yeah.
came from spirit, it came from your inspiration. Then you were inspired to, not necessarily do a whole lot with it at the time. Then recently you've been inspired to do things with it, right? And it just happened. Like you said, it all just came together. That's what it means to be in your inner tube and just going down the river. Stuff just works out. It just does because you leave it all in the hands of spirit, which is you. It's us. It's just the other part of our mind. It's the smart part of our mind. It's the part of our mind that knows everything. And so if we just relax and utilize that part of our mind, which doesn't mean we have to do anything, we just allow it to happen, then yeah, everything just falls into place. And I'm going to use tarot as an example again.
Mm.
people who are doubters of tarot, and like,
No, my mum's practiced tarot my whole life, so I understand it's a
okay.
joy.
So, but there's a lot of doubters like, oh, they're just cards and it's just
Sure.
random, just playing them. Well, no, it's not just random. And if you play with it enough and approach it like science, you can see experiment after experiment after experiment, it's going to work. But the reason it's working is because it's already done. Everything's already finished. You're just again riding the inner tube
Mm.
by pulling certain cards, and there's all different ways to pull them. You could literally throw them up in the air and wait for, certain ones to fall in your lap. You can pull one out of the day. It doesn't matter. Whatever way you're going to go to get that information. And it could be the same thing with the course. Just take the course and just open it. Whatever paragraph you're looking at, that's the message you were meant to get. All of these things work out perfectly because it's all synchronicity. And synchronicity is just the vibration of us, right? Because it's already done. It all happened in a fraction of a second. It's in a sphere, right? And we're inside that sphere experiencing it linearly. But everything that has ever happened and ever will happen is already done inside that sphere. And we're just in it. And so if you just ride your inner tube down the river, you don't need to be so stressed out and worried. You don't have to figure anything out because synchronicity is going to make it all line up, just like you were describing has happened with your album.
Wow.
Very cool.
And like David Hoffmeister, I just absolutely love. He's come to be like a really good friend. And he was talking about going down to Argentina, maybe for the first ever time. And he came across this community, and the women in this community were extremely poor. And they were, really living on the edge as a community. And they somehow had almost just like one chapter or something of A Course in Miracles photocopied in this little binder, and they were just handing it around. Everyone was taking turns. So this material had found its way to them, and
Yeah.
it was speaking to them, and they were getting everything they needed to get from it.
Wow. Beautiful.
And he's come back from Argentina, and he's thinking we've got to get them the real deal, and he was watching a documentary about something in Germany, I think, and it was exactly the same scenario where there was someone in Germany who wanted to provide the correct finished article of some text or whatnot for people who were just dealing with little scraps of paper. And he's watching that documentary and he's thinking, I've just had this happen in Argentina. And then I think the door went, and he went to the door, and it was like some guy his daughter had translated A Course in Miracles into Spanish, and they wanted to, it's like literally arrived on his doorstep. So then he got in touch with Judy and told them about it, and they got them printed, and it's gone down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Right. But see, that's also part of surrender. I mean, even though it doesn't use surrender in the course, that is surrendering. That is surrendering. When we surrender to the synchronicities, when we surrender to what already is, what's already done, when we surrender to it, everything just lines up for us. When things are not lining up for us, it's because we're fighting it. We are not surrendering to it. We are trying to take control, and we're trying to steer our inner tube where we want it to go. And that's when things don't line up and just fall together nicely. It's because we're fighting the current. But if we just ride the current and chillax and know that spirit has our back at all times, yeah, all those beautiful synchronicities happen again and again and again. And as you're experiencing them, if you don't make them real and don't be super serious about it, it can be so much fun because it's like a game or like a show or a movie or a play that you're watching. You're like, wow, look, because it just happens over and over and over again. And then you're back in the happy dream again because you're having a lot of fun watching this very interesting illusion that you think you live in. All the while knowing you're not there, and all the while feeling the peace of God. And I do want to share this with you before we finish today, because it is something that happened to me recently, and it's been a big leveling up for me as far as healing and healing my split mind. Spirit often talks to me, and Spirit was telling me last week that I am incredibly resistant to God's love. Oh, breaking news, who isn't? So I was like, yes, I am. You are correct, Spirit. And Spirit showed me that every time that I was visualizing in my head, feeling God's love, I was always feeling it from the outside. It was like something out there was shining down on me, and giving me this love. And Spirit told me in that moment that it was sharing all this with me, that it gave me a different visual that was much more accurate. It said, God's love is not outside of you, it's within you, right? We all know this, but for whatever reason, I kept thinking of it the other way.
Mm-hmm.
And it gave me a visual that I've been using, an experience, really, more than a visual. It's an experience that I have. And if I want to feel God's love, I close my eyes, and inside my chest, I can see like a sphere. But it looks dark, right? Because it's still me resisting love, but that sphere has cracks in it. And through those cracks is shining a tremendous light. And that is the God within me. And the blackness of that sphere is me resisting. And that's okay. The cracks are there. The light is coming through. And the more I allow myself to receive this love, the wider and wider those cracks are going to get until it's finally not there. And so now I really take time each day to feel God's love and to be open to receiving God's love within me. And I really feel it and experience it that way. And it's very beautiful. So I wanted to share that with all of you.
Yeah, that's amazing. I feel that. Wow, wow. I think you might have reached your mic drop moment there with that. What a lovely conversation.
Yeah, it was a real pleasure.
Wow. Okay. That's my meditation before bed sorted. I like that. And that's in line with the last couple of days for me as well, of like, I'm not sure again if it was David, somebody saying, if someone says to you, "Where's God?" and you look out there, that's duality. If someone says, "Where's God?" and you like point to your heart, that's the difference. So yeah, I'm not surprised with synchronicities being the topic of, or part of the topic of this conversation, that you should
Right,
gift me with that visual. So
that's
thank
right.
you for receiving that, because you've received that for all of us.
Yes, and it's why I wanted to share as well, because
Yeah,
yeah.
brilliant. You
Mhm.
you got it. Yeah, we all can benefit from that, as we do from your channel. People who like blunt and upfront spiritual talk, such as myself. So please keep bringing that
Yes.
authentic vibe. Keep doing your thing and being you, and the humor. And good luck in Shortsland with all of the
It's
the
an
non.
interesting place.
I did say to my wife a little while ago about it. I was going, "Oh man, look at this." I don't know if I showed it, but I sort of said, "You've done really well." There's some people who, whatever the message of your video was, went, "Well, it's blah, 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 it's not what I think," and you were just like, "Well, that's what it says in ACIM."
You know,
Fine.
it's interesting, yeah, that you bring that up, because I wasn't sure how I was going to handle, negative comments when I first started my channel. And, the typical way of handling it within the spiritual world is, oh, just don't respond. Just don't respond.
Hmm.
But and I kind of thought that was probably what I was going to do. There's been a couple people here and there. Spirit didn't give me anything to say, so I just don't say anything. But for the most part, Spirit always gave me something to say. And again, it was kind of fun for me because I don't take it personally. It's not an attack. I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything. I'm teaching the course. I'm speaking, I'm talking about what the course is saying. So typically when someone says something to me like that, there is a course response, to what they're saying. And Spirit has guided me again and again to give that course response. I couldn't even tell you most of the time what I said. I'm channeling it at the time. It's just coming through me. And it's not even for the person I'm speaking to necessarily, because that person is already very much in their ego and is very resistant, to these ideas. And, if I happen to get through to them, great, wonderful, but I'm not trying to. Really, it's for all the other course students who are going to perhaps read those comments later.
Mm.
for them to not be swayed by an ego's doubt or an ego's argument against the course, so that I can give the course's line of thinking and that person can then make up their own mind, and not be swayed by the ego's thought system. So honestly, that's why I do. For me, it's another teaching tool. It's just another teaching tool. I'm just going around being a teacher. I've been a teacher for decades, and I'm just continuing to do that now with the course.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, if to teach is to demonstrate, and our invulnerability lies in our defenselessness, then someone is going to read that quote as a teaching. And if you're not um, demonstrating any form of feeling attacked and responding to a perceived attack, then yeah, that's no different to your video that they've just watched before they've clicked onto your comment, is it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Nothing the same.
Yeah. And everyone has their own curriculum, and every moment of our own personal curriculum can be different. Spirit can tell us to do something at one instance and tell us to do something different in another instance. So there's never like a formula in life. It's not, and a lot of people look for this from the course. That tell me what to do. How do I live my life? No, it's never telling you that. There's never a formula on how to live. If someone's looking for a formula, the formula is get in touch with your inner guide, get in touch with the Christ part of your mind, get in touch with spirit. It will tell you everything. It will lead you everywhere you need to go. It'll tell you everything you need to do, everything you need to eat, everything you need to wear, everything you need to meditate on, everything you need to read, and everything you need to not do as well. You don't need to worry about it. Again, just put your butt inside that inner tube, relax, and just go with wherever spirit leads you, and you're always in the right place. It's really cool.
Because if you can make like a generalism to your request as well, for the peace of God, for the love of God, and not be asking for specifics,
Okay.
then you open up the floor to the full spectrum of what's out there, because we don't know, we don't perceive our own best interests. So
Yeah,
we,
absolutely.
you know,
And I think that a part of my curriculum right now that was definitely set up on purpose for me to do this at this point of my life is that I already accomplished everything in my life that I had ever wanted to accomplish. I have nothing on my bucket list, literally nothing. I've jumped out of an airplane by myself. I've traveled the world. I had the family I wanted. I have the home that I want. I got everything I ever wanted, I already have. So because I'm not desiring anything from the world anymore, I'm in a place where I can do all the things that I've been talking about throughout this entire, conversation we've been having, because I'm not looking to achieve anything. I'm not looking to gain anything from the world. I'm not looking for anything. All I'm looking for is to know that the world's not here and to focus on God's love and the love within me. That's it. And I'm totally set up to do that now. So here I am, I'm doing it.
but perversely, from an ego's sort of perspective, that just doesn't make any sense to the ego, because it's like all it ever wanted was to inhabit those desires and wants and gain and achievements and this and that and lack and lack and lack and lack and not enough and blah blah blah. And to turn that on its head, and just to be coming from a place where you don't feel lack, this quite it's quite prevalent in a lot of people's story, isn't it? It's not just the there must be another way moment. That's kind of like almost like incubating that
Yeah,
first seed of desire. This is
yeah.
like another phase of like, right, okay, this isn't for me. This, you know, I think is it something from the course where it says, I choose second place that I may come first.
That sounds familiar. Yeah,
Something along those lines,
yeah,
that
yeah.
same principle of just like, why would you want something? Oh, so I could give it away.
Right.
Why would you want
Exactly.
something so I could keep it? Mm.
Yeah, and really, Spirit showed me both, because yes, I manifested basically everything I ever wanted, but at the same time, it didn't solve all my problems, and then some of it got taken away or appeared to have been taken away. And the part that touched my heart the most got taken away. The part that was the most devastating got taken away. And so I've been left in a place where finding the world not real, understanding that the world wasn't real, was my salvation. It was my salvation. And that brought me to a place of gratitude, where even though certain things appear to have been taken away from me, that it, from my ego perspective, feels like massive heartache and abandonment, to know that that's not real, and to know that nothing's happening, and there's no one out there, and there's only one of us, and this is just a dream that I'm having, where I'm reflecting my own resistance to God's love back to me, then I don't have to take it seriously. Then I can just learn the lesson that's being shown to me and continue to find the gratitude and love every day. And I'm very happy with a very simple form of life. I don't need anything fancy. I don't need anything expensive. I don't need those things. I just need nature, a roof over my head, a warm bed, and some food to eat, and the course, and whatever other things I do to entertain myself throughout each day. Like, that's it. I'm very simple. And I love it. It's the simplicity. It's always about reducing things down. And honestly, to me, that's what the course is. Like, I don't really hold on. I'm terrible at quotes and memorizing parts of the course. I have an old book, so it doesn't have all the numbers in it. So I can't tell you, section this, chapter this. I don't know any of that stuff. But I like that on purpose, because it keeps me not attached to the book, not attached to the words, not attached to, the course itself, where I can let that go and have it just be about the concepts. And then eventually I'm letting the concepts go and just having the experience. So it's always like reducing down, like a math problem. You can start with this really big, complicated math problem, and you reduce it all the way down to that one single number as an answer. To me, that's how I see the course. There's all these words in this big giant book of all these ideas and concepts, but if I can just reduce them down, and then I want to be able to share those reductions with the world to make it easier for people to digest those concepts. If the course itself, because it has so many words and it's difficult, and all the things that make people resistant to the course, I want them to be able to still receive those concepts anyway. And then maybe they won't be so afraid of the course, and maybe they will pick it up and start reading it, or not. Who cares? The concept in the course are universal. They're for everyone. It's not just for course students people who want to pick up this book and tackle it, and try to read it. It's for everyone, these messages. And so I want to share them with everyone, and anyone who's meant to hear them will find them. And that's the synchronicities we were talking about. It's all just going to line up the way it's supposed to. So I'm just going to be me, and I'm going to stick my butt in my inner tube, and I'm just going to float down the river, and whatever's supposed to happen happens, and it all happens really magically and beautifully, and I don't take any of it seriously and don't make any of it real. And then eventually I'll go home to God. Maybe this lifetime, maybe another one. It's not my department. I don't get to choose. I'm not in charge. My only job is to open myself to receive God's love. And that's a challenge. It's a life's work to do that. But what better work to do? What better challenge to take on?
To accept the atonement for ourselves.
Yes. The at-one-ment, exactly.
Yeah. The undoing of what never was.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Got it.
Well, okay. Amazing. Plenty to think about.
Good. I'm glad.
Brilliant. I'm sure that the people who don't already know your channel, who come to you via this conversation, will find as much joy there than I have. And yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, good. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And like I said, I'm new to the social media world, and I'm even, I guess, new to the course community as far as like anyone knowing who I am.
Mhm.
So I'm just blessed to have had this beautiful conversation with you. Honestly, I'm blessed to have met you. You have a beautiful energy, and I love, your love for the course. And it just synchronicity brought us together, right? So that's why it feels beautiful, and it feels right. And I just really appreciate the opportunity to spread my messages and my videos. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for being here, and be well.
You too. Take care.
Bye bye.